We're going over this question, which is giving you a data list of 30 newborn babies, and then it's going to tell you to construct a box plot, and after that to find the IQR. So I'm going to start off with this one. And so you have to remember what a box plot is. So the box plot is basically a 5-number summary. So the 5-number summary includes your min, which is the lowest number in your data set. And then the box part is constructed of your Q1, which is your 25th percentile. And then this line right here is your Q2, which is also the 50th percentile, and it's also your median. So the number in the middle of your order data set. And then the last one that makes up the box is the Q3, which is your 75th percentile. So you have these percentiles right here, your min making up the first line, so your max is going to make the last line. So I'm just going to be working on finding my Q1, Q2, and my Q3 first. Or I think I could start off with my min first. So min, that is your lowest number. So this is already in order. I see that it's going from lowest to highest. So if it's not in order, then you have to put it in order to find your quartiles. But since they already put it in order for me, that makes finding these a lot easier for me. So my lowest data value, I could see that it's 5.5 because nothing is lower than that. So this is going to be right here. And now I'm going to be finding my Q1. And then again, this is also called your 25th percentile. So to find it, you could just use the index formula. And this is the formula. So K just stands for whatever percentile you want to be finding. In this one, I want to be using the 25th percentile. So I'm going to enter the 25 instead of the K. And then this N, that just means how many numbers you have right here. So they tell me that I have 30 numbers, so my N is 30. And then the formula says it's N plus 1. So I'm just going to add a 1 to that, and that is the same thing as 31. So after plugging, I'm going to plug this into the calculator, 25 divided by 100, and then times 31. And so after putting this in the calculator, I got that my quartile is going to be in a location in the 7.75 place. But that's decimal. So whenever you have a decimal as your answer, you have to look at the two whole numbers that your decimal is in between. So if I look at 7.75, the whole numbers that it's in between is between 7 and 8. So I'm going to have to take the 7th and the 8th place. And I'm going to have to look for those places and then replace them with the numbers here. So I'm looking at the 7th place, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I get 6.3 because you have to replace this place with the number from your data set. And then I'm going to have my 8th place, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 6.4. So now that I have my numbers from the data set, you have to add these two numbers, the 6.3 plus 6.4, and then divide by 2. And I got an answer of 6.35 for my first quartile. And now I'm going to find my second quartile. And then remember how your second quartile is also P50 because it's half of your data, half of 100 is 50. So I'm going to be using the same formula. Instead of 25, I'm looking for the 50th percentile. So 50 divided by 100 times N plus 1. I have 30 numbers still plus 1, so that is still 31. So now I'm just going to plug this into the calculator and see what answer I get. And my answer was 15.5. And remember how this should only work with whole numbers, but if it's a decimal, it can work too. You just have to find the two whole numbers that it's in between. So if I look at this on a number line, 15.5 is between 15 and 16th. But remember how these are still placeholders. So now I'm going to count to the 15th and the 16th place and replace it with the numbers here. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so after counting, I get that the number in the 15th place is 7.0, so I'm just going to write that down here. Now I'm going to find the 16th place. And I still got 7.0. So now I'm going to add those two numbers up and then divide by 2. And I get that my Q2 is 7.0. And now I'm going to be finding my Q3, which is that box, right? That line right there. So remember how Q3 is also referred to as the 75th percentile. And since it's a percentile, you're still using the same formula right here. So now I'm going to do 75 divided by 100 times 31. And after doing that, I get that my answer is going to be in the 23.25th place. But again, it's a decimal, so you take the two whole numbers that it's in between. 23 is the number before this, and 24 is the whole number after this. So now I'm going to count to the 23rd and the 24th place. So this is 10, this is 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So my 24th place is 7.7. And my 23rd place is also 7.7. So this is my 23rd number, and this is my 24th, and so I'm just going to plug those numbers over here. So I get that I have to do 7.7 and then 7.7. And since it's a decimal, you add these two numbers up and then you divide by 2. And after doing the math for that, I get that my answer is 7.7. So this is your Q1, this is your Q2, and this is your Q3. And now I'm going to find the max. And remember how your max is your highest number, so like the largest number. And since these are in order, I just go to the bottom and I see that the largest number is 8.7. So now I'm going to make my box plot with these numbers. So I found that my min was 5.5 because there's nothing lower than that. And then I take my Q1. My Q1 was 6.35. And then my Q2 was 7.0. And my Q3 is 7.7. And now my last line is going to be my max, which is 8.7. And that is how you make your 5-number summary. And now that I have this part of the question done, I'm going to do the next part, which is finding the IQR. So whenever you have your IQR, the way that you find it is you take your Q3 minus your Q1. And my Q3 was 7.7 minus my Q1, which was 6.35. And then I get an IQR of 1.35. So this is the answer to that part right there. And this is the answer to finding your IQR. And now this question is telling you that you have a frequency table of 40 students and the test scores that they got. And so you could see that they have like these class intervals right here. So it just gives you like a range. It doesn't exactly tell you what their score was. It just tells you what it's in between. And then it wants you to find the mean using only this table right here. And since it's like grouped up data like this, then you're going to be using this formula right here. And so to find a mean, because it's in a table, you're going to take the sum of f times x divided by your total of f. So f over here stands for frequency, and then x stands for your midpoint. And that brings me to my first step, which is find your midpoints. So midpoints are the middle point of each interval. So to find them, you just do your lower class limit plus your upper class limit. So to find my midpoint for this one, I'm just going to do 50 plus 59 and then divide it by 2. And after putting that into the calculator, I get that I have a score of 54.5. And then it's going to be the same rules that are applied to the other classes. So to find the next one, you could do 60 plus 69 divided by 2. And you will see that it's 64.5. And then notice how they're going up by 10. And so are these right here. They're all going up by 10. 59 plus 10 is 69. 69 plus 10 is 79. And since they're all going up by 10, you could just keep on adding 10s to your midpoints too. So this plus 10 is 74.5. That plus 10, 84.5. Plus 10, and then 94.5. So these numbers right here are just the middle points of these classes right here. So now that I have my midpoints, I'm going to be working on finding this right here, which is the sum of your frequencies times their midpoints. And so what you're going to do is multiply these with each other, and then you're going to add them together. So in my first midpoint is 54.5 and it has a frequency of 5. So I'm going to be doing 5 times 54.5. And then this right here means sum, which means add. So I'm going to add that to 15 times 64.5. And now I'm going to be adding 6 times 74.5. So these parentheses are important because they let you, and these, make sure to keep your frequency times their midpoints, and be sure to keep your frequency and its midpoint within parentheses whenever you're doing this math. So 6 times 74.5, I'm going to be doing 5 times 84.5. And then plus 9 times 94.5. So these are all of my frequencies. I have the 5, the 15, the 6, the 5, and the 9. And then these midpoints right here. And so this top portion right here is all filled out. So now I have to find the total of my frequencies. So to find the total of frequencies, you could just add all of these up, but they tell me that I have a total of 40 students. So I'm just going to divide by 40. But again, if they don't tell you, straight up give you how many numbers that you'd have totally, just add up your frequencies and it will give you them. So now I'm just going to plug these into the calculator. So notice how I'm only plugging in the top portion of the equation in. So like the screenshot showed, I only entered this top portion into the calculator, and so with the parentheses and everything, and so I got that these parentheses and the addition symbols summed up to 2,960. So that's the top portion done, but now I have to divide by 40. So I'm just going to plug this into the calculator and to see what I get. And I got that, after putting it into the calculator, I got that my answer was 74. And so the main score for this frequency table right here is just going to be 74.